everybody, welcome back. Today we're going to be making this DIY pin badge storage, which you may be able to tell from the rest of this video I kind of just made up as I went along, but I think it turned out quite well. So I had this box which I've been saving. I think it had chocolates in at some point or something like that, and then this old towel which we were going to be chucking away because it was an old raggedy dog towel. It had loads of bits hanging off it, and the other things you'll need for this project are a pair of fabric scissors and some kind of nice fabric. This is just the stuff I pulled out of my sewing box. As you may know, I've been collecting pin badges on my travels to try and get one badge as a souvenir from each location. Up until now they've just been being stored in this, again, old chocolate box. They're all just loose in there, and every time I pick up the box they get all jumbled up, so I needed a better storage solution. So first things first, I'm taking some measurements of the box. It was just over 16 centimeters, so I marked that length on the towel, and then I began to cut the towel into these 16 and a bit centimeter strips. I ended up switching scissors as well because they were just not strong enough to cut through this thick fabric, so I went for some even sharper ones. It really helped that this towel was stripy because I followed the stripes, and it meant that the strips I was cutting were relatively straight. Okay, so now I've got these strips, I'm marking another measurement along the length of them. I made this measurement up, I just kind of guessed what looked right, and I went for about, I think it was 7 inches, and then I cut along these lines, so I ended up with a big stack of what were more or less squares of fabric. Also, just as a side note, I did not realise how much mess it would make cutting up towels. They make so much mess. So at this point I decided I was going to get a glue gun involved. We're going to roll up each square into a little sausage and glue down the edge. For these first few the glue gun was still heating up, so I just left them to the side for a second, but I do come back to them, don't worry. Here we go. So you don't need too much glue, just enough to hold it in place. So just keep making your little sausage rolls. Again, I kind of just guessed the amount I needed. You need enough to fill up the box, but you want it to be quite compact so that when you put the pins in there's a bit of resistance. So go for more and squish them in if possible. It was at this point that I tested the sausage into the box and realised that somehow I'd made the wrong measurement, or maybe I just rolled them up wonkily and they didn't fit in anymore. So I had to cut off the ends of every single roll, and I made these little cinnamon swirl looking things, and also made a lot more mess with a lot more frayed bits of fabric all over my desk. But now all the rolls fit in really nicely. I could probably have done with one more if I'm honest, but I ran out of towel. And now time to make the box look slightly more presentable, so I had a choice of these two fabrics and I tested out a couple of the pins against each one to see what they would look like. I decided to go with this sort of Cinderella-y blue, thought it made a change from my usual pink. This time I marked a couple of centimetres over the width of the box so that there would be a bit of excess either side. If in doubt, go for more. And then because this was quite a stretchy fabric and it was hard to cut straight, I decided to get the proper cutting mat and a little wheel thing to mark where I needed to cut. And then I weighed it down with 2 very makeshift fabric weights and it came out pretty neat. It doesn't matter if it doesn't though, because you can't actually see the edges once we're done. Again, using some very professional tools in the form of a book token and the end of the cutting tool, I started covering the rolled up towels in the nice fabric. Just tucking in all the ends, making sure all the loose edges are folded underneath and that there's a good bit of definition between each roll so that you've got somewhere to put the pins. And then at the end I just tuck the last bit of fabric underneath. None of it's glued down or anything, so I can adjust it if I want to. And then it's done. And I just started adding in my pins. Doing this has made me realise that I have too many pins. The ones at the back there are all my travel pins, and then all the others are ones which I've just kind of gathered along the way. And there we go! There is my very quick, very easy DIY pin storage. It took me less than half an hour to do, even with filming everything, and it requires no skill at all, which is a bonus. Let me know if you try this out, tag me on Twitter or Instagram at TheKingBeth. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you very soon.